I live alone. I've always preferred it that way. The silence, the solitude, the peace. But lately, the silence has been broken. The solitude invaded. The peace shattered. I have schizophrenia, you see. I've been diagnosed for years now, and I've learned to manage it, to separate the real from the unreal. But recently, the line has blurred. It started with whispers, soft, insidious whispers that seemed to come from the shadows. I would turn on the lights, look around, but find nothing. The whispers would stop, and I would convince myself that it was just my mind playing tricks on me. But then they became louder, more persistent. They began to form words, sentences, threats. "I'm coming for you," they would say. "You can't hide from me." I tried to ignore them, to drown them out with music, with TV, with the sound of my own voice. But they were always there, lurking in the background, waiting for the silence to return. Then I started seeing him. A man, tall and thin, with a face obscured by shadow. He would appear in the corners of my vision, in the reflection of mirrors, in the darkness of the night. I would blink and he would be gone. But I knew he was there, watching me, waiting. I told my doctors about the man, about the whispers. He adjusted my medication, told me it was just a symptom of my illness. But I knew it was more than that. I could feel it. The man was real. He was coming for me. I stopped leaving my house. I stopped answering my phone. I stopped sleeping. Every creak, every shadow, every gust of wind sent me into a panic. The man was everywhere, in everything. I could feel his presence, his anticipation. He was getting closer. One night I woke up to find him standing over me. I could see his face now, pale and gaunt, with eyes that burned like coals. He was smiling, a cruel, twisted smile that sent chills down my spine. He raised the knife, its blade glinting in the moonlight. I tried to scream, to move, but I was paralyzed with fear. He plunged the knife into my chest, and I felt a searing pain. As my blood soaked the bed sheets, I gasped for breath, my vision blurring. I could see him standing over me, watching as the life drained out of me. And then everything went black. The next day, they found my body. The police ruled it a suicide. They said I had stabbed myself, that the stress of my illness had finally become too much. But I know the truth. I was murdered. The man in the shadows, the one who had been haunting me, he was real. He was the one who killed me. And now, I'm trapped here in the shadows, just like him. I can see the world, but I can't interact with it. I can see my family, my friends, mourning my death, believing the lie that I took my own life. But I can't tell them the truth. I can't tell them about the man, about the whispers, about the fear. I'm alone again. In the silence. In the solitude. But this time, there's no peace. Only regret. And the haunting memory of the man in the shadows. Still trapped, I find my apartment and make my way inside. Everything looks the same, yet so different. I head to my room to see if my body was still there. I passed through the door and looked to my bed. The body was still there, but something wasn't quite right. The blood. There was no blood. Suddenly, I saw myself begin to move. I'm still alive? Confusion and fear overwhelmed me as I packed myself into a corner. What was happening to me? Is any of this even real? Moaning and groaning, the other me woke up and begun my morning routine. Washing his teeth, showering himself, getting dressed and eating breakfast. All throughout, there were short moments where I felt as though we had locked eyes, as if he could see me. But I know he can't. Can he? As I sat alone in the darkness, I began to form a hatred for this other me. He stole my life. It shouldn't be him in my apartment. It should be me. As soon as I showed this hateful side of myself, the darkness pounced and consumed me. It took my hatred and nurtured it with words of anger and whispers of fear until it engulfed me entirely. I had been convinced that the only way to get my life back was to take out this imposter. Fueled by rage, "I'm coming for you," I shouted, You can't hide from me. Knife in hand, I lunged into the light surrounding him, smiling with excitement at the thought of being able to live again. I plunged the knife deep into his chest. As the light hit my face, and I made eye contact with the imposter, the memory of my final moments came back into me. I looked to the mirror beside my bed and caught my reflection. My skin rough and pale, eyes dark as though burnt to a crisp. So sunken, I looked as though I'd been on the brink of death for years. The fraud's screams snapped me out of my trance, blood soaking through the sheets and staining my pale hands. I stood up, looking down as his life slipped away. Then the realization hit me. It was me all along.